Have you ever really thought about all the different jobs around you? I mean, from the food on your plate to the phone in your hand, everything is connected. Today, we're going to piece together this giant jigsaw puzzle that is the Indian economy and uncover a really fascinating story. A story of huge growth, but one that leaves us with a very big question about jobs. All right, let's get into it.
Think about it. Every single day, millions and millions of people are out there working. You've got farmers growing crops, factory workers building cars, and so many others teaching in schools or writing software. Now, to make any sense of this incredible variety, economists like to group all these activities into what they call sectors. It's the only way to really see the big picture. So, how do we sort all this out? Well, think of it like sorting different colored building blocks. Pretty much every single economic activity in our country can fit neatly into one of three big boxes: the primary, the secondary, and the tertiary sectors. Understanding these three is absolutely key to unlocking how our economy works. Okay, let's break this down. First up, you have the primary sector. This is the foundation, right? It's all about using natural resources directly. Think farming, fishing, or mining. Then you've got the secondary sector. This is the manufacturing hub. It takes the raw materials from the primary sector, like cotton, and turns it into something new, like cloth. And finally, we have the tertiary sector. Now, this one's a bit different. It doesn't make a physical product. Instead, it provides services that support the other two. We're talking about things like transport, banking, doctors, teachers, the whole support system. And here's the most important thing to remember. These sectors don't work alone, not at all. They're totally interdependent. You see, a farmer in the primary sector needs a tractor, which comes from the secondary sector, and they need transport and banking services from the tertiary sector to sell their crops. They all depend on each other. All right, so now that we know the three main players, let's look at the incredible story of India's economic transformation. You see, the importance of these three sectors has changed a lot over the last 40 years or so. Let's compare two different points in time to see just how big this shift has been. Take a look at this. About 40 years ago, the picture was very clear. India's economy was all about agriculture. The primary sector was the big boss, contributing the largest share to our gross value added, or GVA. The whole country's economic health was tied to the farm. Now, let's fast forward to recent times. And wow, what a change. Just look at how the tertiary, or the service sector, has shot up. It has become by far the biggest contributor to the Indian economy. This journey from a farm-based economy to a service-led one is a massive story of development. So it's only natural to think, okay, the service sector is making the most money, so it must be creating the most jobs too, right? It makes perfect sense. But this is exactly where our simple story starts to get a little bit puzzling. And here we are, at the very heart of the puzzle. There is a huge disconnect in India between where the money is being made and where most of our people are actually working. Let's look at the proof. As we just saw, this chart confirms the money story. The service sector is the undisputed champion, no doubt about it, making up more than half of the country's economic output. But now, get this. When you look at where people are actually employed, the whole picture flips upside down. The primary sector, the one that contributes the least amount of money, is still the country's biggest employer. So, wait a minute, how is that possible? How can the sector with the most workers be producing the least value? Well, the answer to this whole puzzle lies in a very important idea called underemployment. You might also hear it called disguised unemployment. Basically, it's a situation where you have more people doing a job than are actually needed. They all look busy, but they're not working to their full potential, and their extra work doesn't really add anything. Let's make this super clear with an example. Imagine Lakshmi's family. There are 5 family members, and they all work on a small farm. But here's the thing, that farm only really needs 3 people to run it properly. The other 2 are there simply because they don't have another job to go to. They are underemployed. And if those 2 people were to leave, the farm's output wouldn't drop one bit. This is the reality for millions in India. So we have a very clear problem, right? Too many people are stuck in agriculture because the other sectors aren't creating enough jobs for them. The big question then becomes, how do we fix this? How can we create more good jobs? Well, there's no single magic wand, but there is a clear multi-step plan. First, the government can invest in rural infrastructure, things like roads and canals. This creates jobs right away and also helps farmers in the long run. Second, provide things like cheap loans so farmers can buy better seeds and tools. Third, promote local industries in smaller towns to create jobs outside the big cities.
And fourth, strengthen services like education and healthcare, which means we need more teachers, doctors, and nurses.
And this isn't just theory, you know. A major real-world example of this is the MGNRGA scheme. You can think of it as a safety net. It actually gives a legal guarantee of 100 days of paid work to families in rural areas. It's a direct attack on this problem of underemployment.
Now, besides those three main sectors, there are a couple of other really important ways to look at the economy. These classifications tell us less about what work people are doing and more about the quality and the ownership of that work.
First, let's talk about the organized versus the unorganized sectors. This is a huge deal in India. The organized sector is what you might call a proper job. It has regular employment terms, job security, benefits like paid leave. It follows all the government rules. But the truth is, the vast majority of Indians work in the unorganized sector. And that means low pay, irregular work, and absolutely no job security or benefits.
Second, we can look at who owns the business. Is it public or is it private? The public sector is owned by the government. Think of Indian Railways. The main motive here is not just profit, it's public welfare. The private sector, on the other hand, is owned by individuals or companies. Here, the main goal is to earn profits. And both are super important for creating jobs.
So let's bring this all together. What's the main takeaway? The biggest challenge for India, the heart of the great jobs puzzle, is this. We have to create enough good, productive jobs in the manufacturing and service sectors so that we can move millions of people out of underemployment in agriculture and into a better future. And this leaves us with one final, very important question. And it's not just a question for economists, it's a challenge for all of us. How do we make sure that as our economy grows, it creates not just more wealth, but more secure, meaningful jobs for every single person? That is the real challenge and the real opportunity for India's next chapter.